Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Meg, and this is Ger Can Get It. This week, Rachel, you know what? I'm in the mood for some therapy.
Well, don't go to him because he's a shit therapist.
If they gave awards for makeouts on screen or stage, this guy would get a lifetime achievement. He'll find any excuse to get right to second face. You honestly wouldn't believe it. Dissecting each and every kiss with tongue. There's only one conclusion to come to. It's that Ger can get it. Ger can get it.
He really sucks at his job. I mean, it has been said that like we could probably use some psychiatric help for recording. What are we on now? Like 25 episodes of all porn all the time. I mean, really. This week we'll be discussing American Psycho 2: All American Girl. It's from 2002. Ger plays a character called Dr. Eric Daniels. What's really to say about this movie? This was less of a dumpster fire than Hypercube.
Oh, it was, yeah.
I think maybe that's a good place to start. Like, it could have been worse. It could have been better. It could have been good.
Yeah. If we took all of Patrick Bateman references out, which are like 2, it wouldn't have been that hard. We just write Patrick Bateman out of the plot, and we just name this like 1 in a Billion or whatever the title of his book is. This is not a horrible horror movie.
It's not a good movie though.
This is not a terrible horror movie. It's a bad sequel to American Psycho. It's a shit sequel to American Psycho, but it's not a bad horror movie.
Having never seen American Psycho, this has definitely colored my opinion on what that movie might be about, because I'm aware that Patrick Bateman is the main character in that, but I always thought, my understanding was that like in that movie, you're never sure if all of the murders have actually happened. Isn't that kind of like the whole point of it, is that he's either a serial killer or it's just like an elaborate fantasy that he has?
It's a surrealist dark comedy. So it's like surreal, but it's also horror, but it's kind of funny, but in a weird way. Like that real dark comedy. And I think they were trying to go for dark comedy with this, but instead it's just Milo Kunis doing things to like a goofy soundtrack.
So canonically at the end of the first movie, does the Patrick Bateman character die? Like with a girl like in an apartment? Is any of that scene referenced in the movie or no?
I don't think so. No. No. None of that happens in the movie.
Oh.
Mm-mm.
So that's
there
weird.
Was no reason to include Patrick Bateman in this.
Because otherwise it would have just been Milo Kunis in some rando horror movie. And I mean, that like, who would have watched this? Do you know what I mean? Like this at least has someone who went, well, I liked American Psycho 1. You could have tricked them into watching this, which I think that's what this movie is. This movie is like an elaborate prank on anyone who liked American Psycho, the first movie, or perhaps the book, because wasn't it a book first? So,
I mean, imagine you go to watch it and you're like, okay, this is going to be great. Patrick Bateman's in it, and he's in it for 45 seconds, and then he gets killed.
Before he gets killed by a child version of Milo Kunis?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Baby Milo Kunis. Yeah. So, okay. Although this movie does have some of the brightest stars of Canadian film and screen, in that it has both Garrett Winn-Davies and William Shatner. Shatner is in this. What? Fucking what?
This is actually kind of star-studded. I recognize the guy that she kills, like the entitled wealthy guy. He's been in other stuff.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of the actors who are in this were either already famous or are actors who have had a career and like stuck around, because I definitely recognize a lot of them. This was not their finest hour, but it's not. I mean, they all tried, they all did their best, but it's like the plot is like Hypercube had no plot. This has a plot, but it's basically just like nonsense garbage. So we're gonna do what we can. But the main character, for like 98% of the movie, calls herself Rachel Newman, It turns out that's not her name. I think her real first name actually is Rachel, based on the fact that her parents, I think they call her Rachel when they have a scene with her. But like, I'm not even 100% sure because I'm not going to watch this again.
Don't know that they call her by a name. They say, why did he call you Miss Newman? And she was like, oh, I don't know.
I know the last name they catch, that the last name is not right. But all right, so her first name might not even be Rachel. That is the level of give a shit of this movie. We have Milo Kunis, okay? It's Milo Kunis as Mila Kunis.
Mm-hmm.
She's basically playing the serial killer version of her character from that 70s show. Do you know what I mean? Like they were like, well,
yeah,
be sort of a bitch, and like do the Lestat stride, do the Sam Reed as Lestat stride walk everywhere you go, and choke a guy with a condom. We good? All right, there you go. There's your paycheck. You're in the movies now, babe.
Yeah,
like, oh,
fine.
okay. And I like Mila Kunis, and she's a good actress, and she's not bad in this, but they give her so fucking little. They give everybody so fucking little, and her character is so inconsistent. But like so this movie, okay, if you want to watch a movie, or if you want to watch something, content with like a smart, relatable, fun serial killer, watch Dexter for the first however many seasons before it came back and everyone hated it. Like, just watch.
Yeah, or Jennifer's Body.
Ugh, I fucking hated that movie. But yes.
I like Jennifer's Body.
But yes, it like that. If you want like a serial killer character that you like watch, like, there's other things.
People. I'm killing boys.
I don't know. You know, when there's something that you don't like and you can't really put your finger on it, like it feels like underprepared. It feels like it thinks it's smarter than it is. That's what this movie feels like. And to be fair, and this is my own personal opinion, that's how Jennifer's Body felt to me. Like that thing where you meet your classmate who thinks that they're like God's gift to whatever subject you're in, that they're like the smartest person you've ever met, and then you talk to them for 5 minutes and you're like, oh, you just maybe only spend time with idiots, or like you've just never met someone at your own level or higher. Like you just think you're so great, and you're not totally the dumbest person who's ever lived, but you've just never been challenged. And when you meet a single challenge, your whole worldview just falls apart. Like you can't rise up to it, but you think you're like the smartest person ever. You're God's gift to humanity. And then it turns out like you're not actually all that. That's how I feel about the character in this movie, and that's how I feel about the entire movie of Jennifer's Body. Like, it thinks it's brilliant, and I just didn't like it. But like you and I have disagreed on movies before. Like no,
it's fine.
I really liked Everything Everywhere All at Once, and you wanted to blow your brains out. Like there are some movies that we will not agree on. It's fine, but
that's art.
So like, it is art. Yeah, to each their own. So
it is art. It's art. I didn't think this was a horrible movie.
No, yeah. This is an of the time movie. This is an early 2000s. I went to Blockbuster and nothing better was there. So I paid my $4 and I went to my friend's house after high school, like Friday night after high school. And we snuck some Smirnoff or whatever. And we watched this and we ate a lot of popcorn, and then we passed out on mattresses on her floor. Good weekend success. That's what this is. Like, it's not like the horror movie to blow your mind of all time. Like, it's fine. It's fine. This is why I don't like horror movies, because I want more in terms of plot than what I'm gonna get ever, at least in my limited experience with horror movies. I want more like internal connective tissue. And I feel like what happens with horror movies is they all go, no, I have that for you. I know you want like a corkboard with red string that ties all the pieces together. I have that for you. And then I watch the movies and I'm like, your corkboard with string doesn't actually make any sense. You think it makes sense, but if you pull on one piece of string, the whole fucking thing falls onto the floor and lights itself on fire. Like, it's not actually... I feel like that's my problem with horror movies, is when they think they're smart, they think they're brilliant, and then you're like, you sit there and go, but wait a minute, how does this make sense? Why, like, how does any of this, like, how is any of this, like, not, I don't know how to say this. Like, you know, when a movie thinks it's really smart, and then you sit there and go, but wait a minute, how, like, there's a body in the library and nobody found the body or reported the person missing, or like you didn't, like, you thought you were like this brilliant serial killer hiding all of her crimes, but you kill a person in the middle of the day in the crowded school library, but somehow the world agrees with you that you're a brilliant serial killer and nobody finds this body. They report this person missing 2 weeks later.
Yeah, the wrap up where they're like, she's worse than Bundy, or she's more organized than Bundy, or whatever, was like,
it's like, no, she's not.
No.
Or like when she's sitting she sits in class at one point and she's asking her professor, what is he, like, professor of criminal behavior, it's basically like a criminal psychology class.
Professor of William Shatner.
Yeah. So she asks him, it's basically like a psychology class, but her professor like repeatedly makes comments like he doesn't think very highly of psychology. And I'm like, that seems to be your whole thing, is like figuring out the behavioral mindset of serial killers. Is that not like some kind of an offshoot of psychology? Is that not what you're doing? But he's like, medical doctors, and I'm just like, but what do you... Like, fine, you're not a medical doctor, but like your whole field seems to be like mental, getting in the mindset of people. Like, it seems weird that you would be so dismissive of the whole field of psychology when your whole thing is trying to figure out how brains work. But like, what the fuck ever. So she sits there in class and goes, they're talking about serial killers and how they all tend to have like a slippery slope downfall. Like, even the ones who are really meticulous and really well organized, they end up like getting overwhelmed at a point, or like too cocky, or whatever. Something happens to these serial killers where they end up getting sloppy. And she goes, what if you had a serial killer who like budgeted in their own downfall? And Shatner's response is like, well, we've never had a serial killer like that. And I'm like, no. My response is, what the fuck are you talking about? Because that doesn't make any sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're asking, it is inevitable that I will at some point become lazy. How can I build in the laziness to then like, outthink my laziness to actually make it crafty? And I'm like, the fuck does that? Like, that's not even, you're using words in a way that like doesn't make any sense. The question you have asked, you think that you're smart because they have her sitting there like tending her fingers like she's an evil genius. And I'm like, ma'am.
Yeah.
You were using words in English, and I guess like the nouns and the adjectives and the adverbs are sort of in the position in a sentence that they should be for it to be a sentence that it is English, but like the content of it makes no fucking sense. Like, how do I unslop my sloppiness? The fuck? Anyways, this movie. Okay, we're gonna try and get through the plot. I'm using plot really, really broadly here, because my God. Okay, so our main character is Rachel Newman, sort of. That's definitely not her last name. It might not be her first name. She's girl Milo Kunis. The movie starts out with her tied with rope, I think, to a dining room chair at the dining room of Patrick Bateman. Patrick Bateman is trying to kill this woman who is Mila Kunis' babysitter. Mila Kunis' babysitter has taken her along with her on a date to see Patrick Bateman.
Yes. Because
sure, that makes sense in some version of the world. Like, fuck. So... and they're not at like Mila Kunis' house. Like, I need to make that clear. It's not like you had a bad babysitter who called up her boyfriend and was like, ring, ring, come on over and I'll like give you a hand job while I watch this kid like in her parents' house and eat her food from the fridge. Like, no, she takes the Mila Kunis kid, puts her in the car, and they drive over to this, I think it's an apartment. It must be an apartment because there's an elevator, to an apartment where this Patrick Bateman character lives, because the movie already doesn't understand what a person is. Like, it's so fucking dumb. So they go over there. We end up finding out like 45 minutes or 6 hours later. This movie doesn't really exist in time the way that like the rest of us do. But we end up finding out that this woman, it wasn't just that she like was dating Patrick Bateman and decided for whatever reason to have a Patrick Bateman date and bring her young charge along with her. This woman was the girlfriend of William Shatner's character, whose name is Dr. Robert Starkman. Shatner's character is reading a file on Patrick Bateman in bed, as you do, to get your motor running. This woman opens up the file folder, and I guess there's a picture of Patrick Bateman, and she goes, "Oh wow, this guy's super cute. He's very handsome. I want to get some of that." And so she like finds a way to like reach out to Patrick Bateman and like get a date with him.
Oh, she was in bed with with William Shatner. And she was like, "I think Patrick Bateman's hot."
And it's like you know if the criminal behavioral whatever guy, if he's the one looking at a folder, you know that it's not like Patrick Bateman is behind on his taxes or something, or he's like a car thief. He's probably a serial killer. And he is. And you're like, well, but he's really hot. So I guess I'll search him out. I will find this guy and go to his apartment with a little girl. That's definitely the right move to make in this case. Like, I'm not saying fuck William Shatner. You don't have to do that. But like, if the options are fuck William Shatner or go to the house of a serial killer, I guess I'd say err on the side of fucking William Shatner. I don't know. I mean, if those are your only two options, I really don't see how the other one is better. I don't. Why?
Yeah.
This movie is so dumb.
That tracks.
Right? I mean, if those are your two options, you know, hi, Mr. Shatner. And I guess don't ask him about Star Trek because I don't think he likes that. But anyways, so we find out this movie starts off dumb and it gets dumber. So we're at this apartment. Patrick Bateman has killed the babysitter because she deserved to die. She's too dumb to live. We all accept that. And Milo Kunis' character is just sitting there tied up to a chair, and he's, I guess, gonna get to her later. Well, Milo Kunis' character is like, nope. So she somehow manages to get out of her ropes, and I'm like, is it like this guy is a serial killer and he's killed a whole bunch of people, but like the 12-year-old girl outwitted him? Okay, sure. So she undoes her ropes.
I think the implication is she kills Patrick and her. I think she kills them both because she's only drugged. Because he's like tipping her head back. He's like tipping the babysitter's head back. And she's like, look at her sitting there all drugged.
Oh, okay.
And that's when she gets out of the ropes.
The way I thought, I mean, that makes as much sense as anything else in this movie. I thought that she saw Bateman kill the babysitter and she was like, fuck that shit. She goes over to Bateman and kills him. But it makes just as much sense for like this totally unreliable narrator of a character for her to kill both of them and go like, I stopped a serial killer. Good for me. Although, like, if that's the case, like, how does she know he's a serial killer? Maybe he said he's a serial killer, maybe he was monologuing. I don't know. This movie doesn't care.
She just, somehow, 12-year-old her knows who Patrick Bateman is. She's like, I am in Patrick Bateman's apartment. My babysitter brought me here, and I'm gonna die. And you're like, well, how do you know?
Because if he hasn't been captured yet, it's not like the newspapers would be like, we know who he is.
This is the only reference we're gonna get.
Yeah, the movie doesn't care.
Yeah. This is the only reference we're going to get to Patrick Bateman. Like, this is the only tie-in to American Psycho at all. At all.
Yeah. Well, she's just also an American Psycho. She's just a psycho who is un American. Like, that's...
Yeah. It should have been American Psycho additionally. Also an American Psycho.
Also an American Psycho is my new favorite title for this movie. But yeah, so it starts out, she's 12 years old. She's killed at least one, possibly two people. She leaves the scene of the crime before any police find her. And then there's just some yada-yadaing about her, like not having a very warm relationship with her parents. Because, you know, she's a child sociopath or psychopath. I never remember the difference. She's a little scary, evil child. Doodle-doodle-doo, all of a sudden she's in college. And she's going to West Washington State University.
Which is very clearly photoshopped onto the, like, it's glowing white. Like the whole sign is matte and kind of off, like kind of blurry. And then the text is like bright white and crisp. Like it was put on there digitally.
Look, what is it that you said in the past? They definitely had like somebody's nephew graduated from like a community college program in computer graphics. And he's like, I got this. American Psycho 2 is going to be my breakout movie. I mean, God bless. I will say that the one thing that I did like about this movie, and it's a real short list, is that whenever there are scenes on campus, when you're walking around the outside of the campus, or if you're walking where the dorms, inside the dorms, and like you're in a dorm room a couple of times, or you're in an auditorium, like for a class, it did feel like they were actually on a university campus somewhere. Like you don't. Like where, like outside of a prison, where are you going to get that much cinder block? Do you know what I mean? Like it felt authentic to the American college experience. So I was like, well, that's something, I guess. Fair. I mean, I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel here. They just seem to be like actually on a university, and I want to know where they filmed this. Like, I want there to be like groupies who are like, oh my God, is this the university where they filmed American Psycho 2 : All American Girl? Like taking pictures and shit the way we did in Toronto. Anyways, it's not a good movie, but cinder blocks. Okay, so cut to, she's 18 years old. We find out that she basically like found some orphan girl named Rachel Newman like at a bar or something, and the girl spilled her entire life story and was like, why, yes, I am an orphan, and no one will come looking for me. You are such a caring new friend I just met. And then that girl immediately gets killed and stuffed in the closet of her own dorm room inside a garment bag where she will fester for the entire movie. And it's not super clear to me the length of time like when the movie ends. I mean, it's at least past spring break because they mentioned spring break. So probably from like August all the way through to what, like March or April of the next year. So like,
I think it's like 7 months. It's like 6 or 7 months because when he goes to the police, they said, yeah, we got a bunch of missing person reports. NPRs is what he calls them. And he says, our first one was this Rachel Newland lady, and that was like 6 months ago.
Okay. Yeah. So like,
and that's when they went and they were like, are you Rachel Newland? She was like, totally. And they were like, oh my God, false alarm. And she was like,
yeah, she's like, totally thumbs up. I am indeed Rachel Newman. No need to question or like look at my ID or step into my room, which smells like corpse. Although I will say that like, I've been in enough college dorm rooms to be like, well, that corpse smell, they probably did not smell it anymore. That's kind of what most dorms smell like, frankly. But, yeah. So can you even imagine, like that thing must have been liquefied. Can you even imagine? And somehow she has a single room. I thought that her slutty friend, I thought that was her roommate. And then there's a scene where the slutty friend is like, I was down the hall and you came down the hall to ask me for a condom. Yeah. So then I was like, okay, she has a single, somehow this freshman got a single room, which fuck you, bitch. First off. Fuck you, bitch. Maybe they were like, oh, we feel bad for you. You're an orphan, so you get the single room. But like, can you?
With her own bathroom.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. She has the handicap accessible room. That's what it is. That's what it is. Because those rooms always have their own personal bathroom with like the railings and stuff, and like the extra wide shower so you can wheel in. Oh. How come the orphan got the handicapped room? I'm overthinking this. Okay. So anyways, it's a single room. The closet of which is filled with a rotting human corpse for 7 months. So just, I'm sorry, Kelly. I'm sorry. Can you even imagine the stink? The fucking, like, even if she killed nobody else in this entire movie, like that's enough for me to be like, no, you get the chair. Like you're gross. So she kills this girl. Yeah. She takes over her identity. And I don't know if you know, when you're a freshman in college, like you don't really get a choice as to what classes you're taking. You're just taking the like prerequisites with everybody else. Somehow Rachel Newman, the real one or the dead one, managed to get into like these criminal behavioral, not psychology classes. Sure, fucking why not? Because like this movie makes no sense for her to be a freshman. Do you know what I mean? Like the timelines that they lay out make no sense because she's like, I need to be in this class taught by William Shatner because Shatner still has ties with Quantico and the FBI. And if he likes me, then he'll pick me to be his TA. And if he picks me to be his TA, then I got a straight shot into Quantico. Well, then, like, this is her freshman year, this movie. The movie ends, and all of a sudden, it goes, like, 6 months later or a couple of months later, she's at Quantico. And she's, like, got, like, 2 years left at Quantico. And I'm like, but that doesn't... Whatever Quantico, like I imagine whatever program the FBI does, it's for like college graduates. Like you go to college, you graduate, you get your diploma.
Oh, she's an agent.
Yeah, she's an agent already. Like it doesn't.
She's an agent by the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But they make it sound like she's doing classes there, like she's doing whatever training you have to do. But you're right. They're like, oh, she made agent before like anybody else would have made agent. But like.
Yeah, by her sophomore year,
yeah.
So,
but it like doesn't make any sense. It's like you would have to have finished college first. As far as I know, the FBI doesn't have a college. Do they? Is there like FBI college? Like, did I miss? Like, I thought it was like you did college.
Well, there's Quantico, which is like the training program.
Yeah, but aren't you a college graduate when you go to Quantico? Isn't that the whole deal? I think because they're like you do your college and then we recommend you and then you go to Quantico. It's like. You do your college and then you apply to law school and you go to law school. Like, I thought it was like the next thing. I don't know. It makes no fucking sense, this movie. Anyways, she's like, I need to take the Shatner class because Shatner will, if he likes me, he'll make me his TA. And if I'm his TA, then it's like 100% guaranteed I get to go to Quantico where I get to fight serial killers for reasons because I want to do that because I killed one and it was so much fun. What if I did that and got paid? Like, job of a lifetime. Sure. Fucking sure. Like, watch Dexter. This movie wants to be Dexter. It's not as good as Dexter.
Making the world a better place.
Yeah, I want to kill people, and this way I can do it while wearing a neat suit and some ugly glasses. Anyways, so
Yeah. And she's like, wow, I really need therapy. And then just goes to a therapist.
and then immediately is like, yeah, therapy's not for
Somehow.
me. But Garrett will still be in the movie because they paid him to show up, and he's like, hello, hi guys. Okay, so she's in her Shatner class. There are three other students who are. I was gonna say 3 other students who are competing to get this TA position, but it almost sounds like there's probably more, but she only sees these 3 as her actual competition. All the other students who want this job are like so far beneath her that she doesn't even have to bother with killing them, even though it's her favorite fucking thing. So she will meet a rich boy whose dad like owns half of campus, but I'm like, you go to like Northwest Washington Junior College on 48th Street and like 9th Avenue. Do you know what I mean? Like you go to like, I feel like I could buy a building on this campus and have it named after me. Like it's such a like bumfuck nothing school that it's so weird that they're like, oh my God, the bumfuck nothing school. That's where Shatner teaches, and Shatner is so amazing. And I'm like, why would Shatner teach? Do you know what I mean? Like if you're like the god of Quantico, and you retire, I feel like you go and you teach at like Harvard or Yale or like some school that's going to blow smoke up your ass. Like if you're on the way up, like you start at the West Washington School of like cow fucking, and then like you get all the way up and like you move in that direction. But it seems weird to me that this guy is like so amazing, and he retires and is like, I think I'd like to retire to Washington State and teach in my spare time at the clown college, like across the street. Like it none of the details make any sense to me. And all I can think is that like they couldn't get the rights to use the name of like a real school. No school was like, yeah, we want to be associated with this. And so they're like the West Washington College of Agriculture
Washington
and Behavioral Sciences.
Well, she says it's the premier college for behavioral
Yeah, exactly.
science.
Yeah, she's like, oh my God, West Washington. And I'm like, oh my God, West Washington? Like, what?
Oh my God.
What?
Yeah, West Washington. Right? Am I right? It's fine. She's got a hoodie from it, so it must be legit.
I'm going to get you that for Christmas.
Like the world's largest hoodie.
Well, to be fair, it's Milo Kunis, and she's maybe like 20 years old, which means she's about 5 feet tall, and she wears like
she looks like
78
12
pounds. So like they could have given her a child's extra small.
Her voice is so high. Her voice is so high. When we started, I was like, oh, is she trying to sound like 12-year-old self?
No, that's what she sounded
and
like.
And then as she continued, it just...
That was her voice.
She must have gone to some kind of like vocal training.
No, I think she's just not 20 anymore.
Sounded like a child.
Because remember when she started on that 70s show, she lied about her age. I think she told them that she was 18, but really she was like 16. So like her career started when she was very young. So I think she was still pretty young, like in 2002. So I think like naturally her voice was just like way up there, and it's just deepened with age a little bit.
Yeah.
Like this movie.
I mean, I really only know her from Jupiter Ascending.
So you've seen the highlights of her career at this point. Wow. Even I couldn't get through Jupiter Ascending.
I really like Jupiter Ascending, actually. I love Jupiter Ascending.
What?
It's the worst, best movie.
I'm willing to give it another shot just because Eddie Redmayne and his lips are in it, and like that seems like a reason to give it a shot. But all I remember is that
Eddie Redmayne is going 200%. Everybody else is phoning it in, and it's the best.
I mean, that is what I expect from Eddie Redmayne, though, an Eddie Redmayne performance. I expect him to be like, oh, I'm sorry. Is this a bullshit budget sci-fi movie? I came here to perform, motherfuckers, and for him to just like blow out the screen. He's gone to the Keira Wynne Davies School of Acting. Okay, so
he knows this is a shit movie, but he's not going to be shit in it. So
I came to do a job. I'm going to do my job. Okay, this piece of shit movie. This one. Okay, so this movie does not inspire a coherent train of thought, so it's fine. So she will meet a boy named Brian. He is her first competitor, not because he's smart or like good at his class or dedicated or at all interested in the subject, but his dad is really rich. His dad like has bought, I don't know, buildings on campus and they've been named after him. And so she's like, okay, he is my first competitor. He obviously recognizes her as a competitor because he's like, what if I give you $1 million? And she's like, pass. He invites her to dinner to like make this offer, and I'm like, it's very weird because the movie is like, I want it to feel like a date, but it's not a date. They have no interest in each other sexually or like relationship wise. They just want to size each other up over like red wine. Because
Yeah.
that's what college kids do. They go to the local Italian restaurant, they have a glass of red wine, and then they like have mob boss style dealings with each other. Because of course. So then they get super blitzed at the restaurant. They go back to her dorm room. She's like, oh, do you have a condom? And he's like, no. Is that like, what if I just pull out? And she's like, no, thank you. So she goes down the hall to see her friend. Is it Cassandra? That's her name, right? Cassandra?
I think it's Cassandra, yeah.
Yeah. So she goes down the hall to see Cassandra and is like, do you have a condom? And she's like, oh my God, I totally do. So she gets the condom. She goes back to her dorm room. We have seen the sheets on Rachel Newman's bed, and they are tarp. It's not even like the boy thinks that they're like rubber pea sheets. It's just a fucking blue tarp. Like it's like an IKEA bag cut in half. Blue
tarp with grommets and everything.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, she must like, I don't know, she must like pee the bed. And I'm like, sir, you are in the clinical behavioral like serial killer identification class, and someone has brought you home to their kill zone. Like all it needs is like a big neon sign that says, I'm gonna kill you, bitch. Like it's not subtle. So the fact that he dies, I'm like, well, he was too stupid to like pass this class. Never mind, be the TA. Like I feel like there's a tarp on the bed, you run. That's the sign. That's the first sign. So she comes back with her condom. I thought the whole condom thing was going to be a ruse. Do you know what I mean? I thought she was going to like turn around, put on her murder hoodie, come in with like a knife. No, she actually intended to use the condom because she gets like, I guess, the world's strongest rubber. And she uses it to garrote him. She garrotes him on her fucking bed. And do you know what happens to his corpse? Like, can you tell me like where his corpse ends up in this movie? Because he's not in her closet.
At the very end, when they're talking about where they found all the bodies, he's like in the woods.
Okay, so she just dumped him somewhere.
She dumped him in the woods. Yeah.
The movie doesn't give a shit, but like at least if he's dumped in the woods, then the later comments by the cops of like, oh, we've had missing persons reports, that at least makes sense for that character. Nobody else. We'll get there. So the next character that we meet is Cassandra, who, like I said, at first I thought was her roommate because they're always in Cassandra's room together. And Cassandra has a little secret. And the secret is that Cassandra is dating their professor, who, if you recall from 30 seconds ago, is played by William Shatner.
Yeah.
So let's just...
Bobby. Yeah.
Bobby. Yeah, she keeps calling him Bobby.
I just don't know why he spends so much time with his wife and kids.
My favorite part is that she keeps saying his wife and like baby daughter.
Yeah,
Shatner has a baby
daughter. His baby
Shatner's
daughter.
Like 50-something, 60-something at the time of filming this, I feel like.
Well, he's like 90s now, and this is 2000. He's in his 70s. Like late 60s, early 70s.
Oh, well, he looked good for like being in the 70s. And like, look, girl, I'm not going to judge anyone for being into a silver fox.
Maybe William Shatner, though.
Shatner in his 30s was a very handsome man, like Star Trek Shatner. He was a very handsome actor. He's not ugly now. He's not like hideous. And like I said, I really cannot in good conscience judge anyone who has a thing for silver foxes, because you know what podcast are you listening to. But also William Shatner, when you were in college, girl, have some self-respect. Girl.
Yeah.
And him always talking about like having to go and visit his wife and his baby. There's a baby. Don't fuck him when there's a baby. It just makes it worse. It makes it more unseemly. And then like later when you find out that like he previously had the girlfriend that went to go and see Patrick Bateman, it's like, oh, okay, so he's the married guy with the young wife and the young child, and he's got the history of fucking like 20-somethings. It's ucky. It's a little ucky. So, even though this girl is the Rachel Newman character's best friend, Rachel Newman's like, well, he's fucking her, so there's a chance that she'll be made the TA. Guess I gotta kill her. So she hangs this girl. She fucking hangs her in this girl's dorm room, which, first off, what are you hanging her from? Do you know what I mean? Like, those rooms are just cinder block cubes. Did you have to build, like, a scaffold? What the fuck are you, like, did you have to bring in the crew from, like, the theater program to have them build you a set? Like, what? But she somehow manages, through her creativity and craftiness, to hang this girl and stick a sticky note onto the girl's chest that says something like, he didn't love me enough.
Yeah, with a little heart on the I over the D-I-D, and didn't. It's a little heart.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's so fucking dark.
She goes, I won't let you down. I won't let you down. Like, I won't disappoint you. And then she's like, I won't let you down. And it's because she's hung her.
That's what I mean. Like, the movie thinks it's really funny. That's my main problem with this. Is the movie thinks it's fucking hilarious.
It does, no, with the goofy music too. There's like the
music,
like the goofy soundtrack playing in the background over everything. Yes. Like, oh, what's she gonna do next? That goofy girl. Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up because there are, like, you know how there are movies that are like not comedies, but you'll have a character in it who's like a Chandler Bing type who makes like off the cuff, like smart ass remarks, but it's not meant to be a comedy movie. They're just sort of a smart ass character. If you took away that like weird sitcom bubble music that they have under everything, this movie would just seem like a bad horror movie. But they have bad horror movie and then they add like sitcom deedly-dee-doo music and you're like, the fuck? What is going on here? What movie do you think you're in?
Somebody watched the first one and they were like, oh, this is a dark comedy. Okay, so if I have people kill people and I make it funny by adding funny music, now it's a dark comedy. Like, fundamentally misunderstanding what makes a dark comedy a dark comedy. That's exactly what it feels like. They were like, what if she kills people to like goofy soundtrack stuff? And then she's always making dumb comments. Like the rich guy.
Like dad jokes.
Can you spell donation? Because he can't. You're like, what the fuck?
It's weird because she makes these quips, but she's not otherwise like a funny character or a character with a sense of humor. She just like makes like one-liners while choking you with a condom. And I'm like, I like you, Milo Kunis. This does not make me like you any less. I hope you got a good paid check from this, but like, I don't understand anything happening on screen. And I don't think anyone involved. I don't think the sound people understood. I don't think any of the actors understood. The writers clearly were like, just blitzed on cocaine when they wrote this movie because no part of it makes any sense with any other part of it.
Yeah.
But anyways, so she's got two people down. So Starkman will find the girlfriend because he's going looking for her right before spring break. He will find her hanging in her room. And then because every character in this movie has to be sort of despicable, he will pull off the note that's on her. He will find there's some... what do you call those? Like those little, is it like a photo booth? That's what they call it, right?
Yeah, like a photo booth photos, like a strip of photos.
Yeah. There's a couple of photo booth photos that she has prominently displayed of her and Shatner like together making kissy face, which you're fucking your teacher. I feel like rule number one of that, I mean, rule number one should be don't, but like rule number two of that has to be maybe don't like prominently have photos of your like student code of behavior violating activities like prominently displayed in your dorm room. I don't know. I mean, you're in the criminal behavioral like psych class. I just feel like you should be better at being criminals. Better at being delinquents. Like, I don't know. So he will grab the photos. He will grab off the little sticky note off her breast. He will leave her hanging there. He will leave her there. And that's where she's discovered later when they like do the montage of discovering bodies. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares about any of the deaths that happen. Like you never have like the rich kid's family wondering where he is. You never have like anyone other than Shatner wondering where Cassandra is. And that's only because he wants to like have her give him a hand job on the drive up to see his wife and kid. Like you never like the deaths in this movie. I mean, like it's meant to be like a goofy horror movie and it's meant to be sort of Dexter-ish. And like, you don't really care about the people that are killed in Dexter. But like the world cares about the people that are killed in Dexter. Like just because you as the audience are rooting for the killer doesn't mean that like the laws of the world go away or like not the laws like criminal laws. I mean like the laws of like how things work in reality. Notice.
Yeah. Like if there's a dead guy in the library, somebody sees that.
Right. Well, so this is the kill that pisses me off the most. So there's a kid named Keith. He's like I think only black person we see in the entire movie. Even when there are like wide shots of campus, he's the one black guy. That's, you know him. That's Keith. They give him.
He does not die first though.
He just no. That's good on you, movie for like avoiding that trope.
You got one right.
Yeah. Well, and it's like when they introduce him, they're like, oh, he's the only smart kid in this class. He's my only real competition. And my thought was like the movie would spend some time with Keith, like I don't know, they'd have like a cat and mouse game and they would be like outsmarting each other. Maybe Keith is going to try to kill her. Maybe it's like all an elaborate like fight. Fuck no. This movie sees your expectations and goes, oh, that would have been fun. Yeah, we didn't do that. So what the movie does is it goes, Keith is really smart. They have one scene in class where it seems sort of like, I don't know if it's meant to be like a Socratic method, like I'm going to ask you questions thing from the professor and just like I need to know what you read and what you understood, or if it's just them having like fucking opinion hour, because it kind of feels a little bit of both. But we've got the Keith kid and he says some nonsense garbage that I think the movie wants us to think is smart, and then Mila Kunis says some even more nonsense, even more garbage that the movie wants us to think that she's extra smart.
Yeah, they're talking about Ted Bundy and he's like, no, Ted Bundy was a calculated killer. He stalked his victims, which he did not do. And then he was meticulous, which not really. He was just hot. And so he got away with a lot because he was hot for a long time. And he kept getting caught. And then anyway, at one point he like walked into a sorority and beat a bunch of people to death with a firewood log. He was not a calculated, meticulous killer. I don't know why they picked Ted Bundy. There are lots of serial killers that they could have chosen.
Yeah, because the movie thinks that little of you. I mean, that's really my only explanation.
I don't know a lot about serial killers because I don't like to listen to things about serial killers, but like I know enough. Like I've listened to enough true crime. I've absorbed things, and that's not the one I would have gone with. Like Ted Bundy's not. No,
but that's really. So I don't know. I mean, I know enough about Ted Bundy. I made the mistake of watching that terrible movie on Netflix with Zac Efron, which was
horrible, just terrible, despicable, and vile, or something like that. It was really long.
Yeah,
the title.
Yeah, well, it was just, and it was a confusing movie because I thought,
didn't that have Mila Kunis in it?
I don't think so, but like I blacked out most of that movie. But like I thought, like, I know enough about Ted Bundy to know that he's a serial killer in the American pop culture. He had a yellow bug and it was like the 70s. That's pretty much the extent of my knowledge of Bundy. So when that movie came out, I was like, oh, this will be like a nice a nice like primer on the Ted Bundy character. And instead it was very weird. It didn't show any of the scenes of him killing. If I didn't know that Ted Bundy was a real person who was a real serial killer, the way the movie is filmed is almost sort of like Paid Vacation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, this guy was railroaded. He definitely didn't do it. He's a really nice guy, because all the scenes we have are nice guy Ted Bundy going back to his girlfriend or wife. I don't remember, like his family, family house.
Lily Collins is who plays in it. Lily Collins.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Like it's so weird because it's like, this is a nice guy. This is a nice guy. This is a nice guy. And then you're like, but wait, wasn't he actually like definitely found to be a serial killer? And then the last 10 seconds of the movie, it's like, oh yeah, P.S. he was a serial killer. And I was like, I sort of get what you're going for there, but this is really irresponsible.
It got a lot of flack for that.
I remember that. Yeah. I mean, not that he didn't he played it very well.
Romanticizing him.
But it was totally a romanticized depiction of this character. Anyways, we're off topic,
why I don't
but
like to watch them.
Yeah. But like so I know even less about Ted Bundy than you know about Ted Bundy, but the movie doesn't give a shit. And like, I feel like in 2002 we had the internet. So like, it's not like the movie was made like in the early 90s where they were like, no one's going to be Googling this afterwards to be like, what was Ted Bundy's actual like MO? Like, how did he actually kill people? And like, but even not knowing anything about the Ted Bundy character, this is what we discussed earlier. Like the dialogue these two characters have doesn't make any sense. We have one character who's like, no, he was super calculated. And then we have another character that goes, well, he wasn't calculated because he had this like precipitous fall off. And it's like, okay, he was calculated until he wasn't. Like, you're not saying opposites. You're saying that like this character, this serial killer was like meticulous until all of a sudden he got sloppy and he wasn't meticulous. And like, maybe there's something to explore in the like, what would make this meticulous character all of a sudden stop being meticulous? But like, they're acting like they're talking about like they're discussing something like they're on opposites. And it's like, no, he was one way and then he was another way. Like, that's not like, what's the point of taking up like 30 minutes in class? Like, these are like the two students where you're sitting there in class going, I just want to get through this class. And they're like, no, let's have our personal fucking discussion. Let's have a dick measuring contest of intelligence in the middle of class and waste everyone's time. Like, these are the students that you hate and you want to throw a fucking book at. Like, it doesn't make me think that they're smart. It makes me think that they're idiots who just want to hear themselves talk. She said on her podcast. So I'm
You're
aware
not
of the
forcing
irony,
yourself
okay?
on anybody. You're not forcing yourself on anybody. They have to come to you.
You're all here voluntarily.
It's fine.
You're all here
I hope you're all
voluntarily.
here voluntarily. I hope we're not some sort of torture chamber. Please don't put on Ger Can Get It again. I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Go back to pulling up my fingernails. It was less painful. So we have the Keith character. The movie wants us to think he's smart. I don't think he's smart, but like they set it up like he's going to be like her intellectual equal. And then 2 seconds later, it's like, we actually don't care. So we go and see him in the library. He is sitting by himself on a little table, and he looks like he's like taking notes in his notebook. Milo Kunis comes up behind him, and his notebook is full of like serial killer style doodles of him murdering William Shatner.
My favorite part is the picture of him with like his little head on this giant buff body, and next to it, it just says me.
I didn't look at it that closely. I might have to watch it again because it's just the first time I was just like, okay, like doodles, and then the second time I was like, wait, is that Shatner? Are you killing William Shatner? Like it was just, it's so weird, but like they're all like exactly what you would think of. Like if I said to you, teenage boy who's not getting laid and might be a serial killer doodles in his notebook. Like that's what this is. Like that's what these doodles are. Like they're creepy and they're gross and they're violent and they're upsetting. And Milo Kunis stands behind him and she's like, oh, maybe he could be a serial killer like me too. Like maybe we could be friends. Whoop, no, we're not. And then she murders him in the library in the middle of the fucking day. Doesn't she like stab him through the head? It's a stabbing, isn't it? Yeah.
She picks his brain. Like, she goes, wow, I'd love to pick his brain.
Yeah, because the movie thinks it's so fucking clever. So she will, so she'll stab him in the head with an ice pick. She will leave him in the library, and I know that because at the end, when they were like racking up the bodies, he is still there. But the cops in the local town are like, there's just a whole bunch of missing persons reports. Like, who could do any investigation? And I'm like, what investigation? In the library, on campus, in daytime, there is a floor covered in blood with a dead black kid like nailed to the table with his brains. Like, I don't like this is not the work of a master serial killer. In West Washington State. Well, there's one guy. There's the one black kid. You should be able to identify him very easily. There's just the one. Go to like the school enrollment records and filter by race. You'll find him.
I think they do that. Like I think they don't know enough about black people. It's fine.
This movie is so aggressively dumb. But they're like, she's this brilliant serial killer. Like no one can figure out like.
Yeah, how will we ever know?
And I'm like, it's the middle of the day. Like, she should be, based on her ice picking him in the head, she should be walking out of the library soaking fucking wet. Just covered in blood head to toe. Just like squishing her way out of the fucking library. This movie is so dumb, it makes me angry. Anyways, so she will kill all of them. And then she's like, cool, there's no one else qualified to be the TA. It's definitely going to be me. She applies to the TA position. She gets stopped by a secretary who's like, the secretary's dialogue, like you have to ignore because she will say things and then immediately say the opposite of the thing that she just said. And it's not like meant to be the character. It's that the movie forgot what line of dialogue it fed her 2 minutes ago. So just like ignore what she says. But essentially the point of the secretary character is that generally they don't allow, I guess sophomores, because she would be a sophomore when she starts as a TA. Freshman. They don't allow sophomores to be, she's a freshman now, but she's applying to be his TA.
To apply.
They don't allow freshmen to apply. Yeah. And then she'll make comments like, but like maybe if it's a special circumstance and I could ask. So she will go to the secretary. The secretary will essentially tell her like, we don't allow freshmen to apply for this. We want you to be like a higher level student. And then she's like, well, I guess this means I have to murder you too. I can't just like appeal this up to the board. I think I should probably kill you. She goes to this woman's house. She will stick her cat in the microwave, which thank God, the only good thing to say about this movie is that the woman finds the cat, takes the cat out of the microwave. The cat is fine. The cat is the only non-victim in this whole movie. So thank God.
I know. I was like, no, I am not about to watch this cat explode in this microwave.
I feel like it makes me a bad person, but I can watch a movie with like people having their brains picked out and like I'm mostly fine. I can't watch violence against an animal because it makes me physically sick. Like it makes me really upset. I can't do it. So when they put the cat in the microwave, I was like, guess we're not watching this for the podcast, but she will get the cat out of the microwave. The cat is fine. It's not a spoiler. The cat is fine. But as she's pulling the cat out of the microwave, Milo Kunis stands behind her in a hoodie and I think also stabs her to death. And again, her body will not be discovered until like fucking months later because I guess she never shows up to work ever again. And
beats her to death with her Employee of the Month plaque.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, because that's somehow clever. I mean, I think the reason that they do it that way is because they sort of want some misdirection. They have the rich boy Brian make a comment about the Employee of the Month plaque, and then you see a hooded figure beat her to death with it. So for like half a second, I was like, oh, is this going to be one of those movies where like it turns out that our protagonist is the killer and we didn't know, or we thought she was the killer and it turns out she's not? No, the movie's not that clever. No, they're just like,
No.
It's her in her hoodie that she will kill everyone else in the entire movie. But she's using the plaque for funsies because you heard someone else talk about it. Ooh, who cares? So she kills the secretary. She kills the other 3 students competing for the TA position. She's like, it's definitely going to be me. And then Shatner is so distraught over his girlfriend having hanged herself that he decides not to finish teaching that semester. And you'd think that like the school would then have like a substitute teacher to finish the semester. Nope. That's more thought than the movie put into it. The movie's just like, nope, he's on sabbatical starting now. So I guess you all get incompletes for this class. I guess you all get A's. I don't know. The movie doesn't give a shit. It's fine. We just know that this position, the TA position that will get her into Quantico, no longer exists. So that's not going to fly. So then she has like, I don't know, like a full mental break. Like the movie, it doesn't make any sense to me. But she goes to see Shatner, and the idea is that she's wearing the dead girl's dress. She's wearing the dead girl's necklace, which, girl, I had that necklace. It came from H&M, okay? If Shatner's giving you an H&M necklace, like, do not, it's not real gold, okay? But, so she's wearing her Shatner necklace. She's wearing the dress that the dead girl had. She has her hair like with little butterfly clips and stuff because it's 2002. We were all there. We all had butterfly clips. Don't pretend like you didn't. And she's done a whole bunch of, she has like some pretty thick makeup on because that's basically what the dead girl, that's her whole vibe. So she goes to see Shatner and she's like, I look just like the dead girlfriend. I'll blow you for the TA position. And Shatner's like, well, I'm still mourning. And also, I don't know you. Like, I know you're in my class and you're sort of obnoxious, but like, I'm mourning and I'm not going to have a TA and I'm going on sabbatical. Like, leave me alone. And he's drinking and taking a bunch of pills, which our good buddy Ger has prescribed for him. And essentially, like, Milo Kunis will try to hit on Shatner so aggressively that he will fall backwards out of a window and die. And again, Nobody hears the sound of Shatner splatting on the concrete because it's not the kind of movie that gives a shit. She will pop him into her car, and then, like, it's at this point she seems to have a full mental break because she's talking like they're actually boyfriend and girlfriend, and she's going up to his cabin with him, and he's going to make her the TA. Like, she's just in an entire fantasy world that is not based in reality. But then, like, later in the movie, she'll be back to normal. Like, I don't know what this weird mental break moment is, but she sticks him in the car.
This is part of where she has her planned fall apart moment. She planned,
which again makes no fucking sense. What is that? What's a planned fall apart moment? Like, I don't
know, Meg.
This movie is so this movie is so frustrating.
I'm just telling you what they wanted you to get out of this.
I know what they want me to get out of this, which is my $12.95 and whatever cut they get out of the popcorn sales. Like, I get that, but like, I fucking this movie. I wonder, was this actually in movie theaters?
This movie never saw a theater. No, I bet this was direct to video.
I know. The second I said it, I was like, this has never been inside a movie theater. Can you fucking imagine? No. Oh my God, American Psycho 2? Let me get my Velcro wallet.
This is a movie you rented when American Psycho was not at Blockbuster.
This is the movie that your dad rents for you when you told him to rent American Psycho. And he's like, they didn't have the other one. Here you go. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Thanks.
That's exactly what this is.
Thanks. You're gonna start my lifelong obsession with Geraint Wynne Davies. It's on you, Dad. Okay,
it's
so on you. I blame you.
He does look good in this movie.
What? He does look good. We will get to the good part. I'm just trying to get through the plot.
Okay. All right. No, I'm sorry.
You can't see my fingers, but air quote plot. So she will shove Shatner's bloody corpse into her car. She will drive past a security guard who will try to stop her. She then She's in Shatner's office. She kills Shatner by blowing at him, and he falls backwards out a window. A janitor will see her. She kills that guy with a mop. Then she
shoves the mop through the top of his mouth and out the top of his head. And then she took him out and threw him in the fucking dumpster.
This movie only makes sense if she's part gremlin. Do you know what I mean? If she's like on steroids and like a bodybuilder, but she just looks like Mila Kunis. Yeah. Because otherwise, like, none of her kills make any sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not super strong, but I feel like I could take 20-year-old Mila Kunis, because she looks like she weighs like 18 pounds. Like, I feel like you could just push her real hard and you could get her off of you. But no, in this movie, she's got incredible Hulk strength. So she will blow a kiss at Shatner, who is so taken aback that he falls out of a window. And I'm like, so he falls out the window, splat, he's dead. So she sees a janitor, kills him with a broom through his mouth, dumps him in the dumpster. She takes Shatner's corpse, she plops it in the car, she puts the seatbelt on, she tries to drive out of the faculty parking lot. A security guard will try to stop her. She puts the car in reverse, backs up to his little security guard window, and she will murder the shit out of the security guard. There is a murder spree going on here. There are 8 people who are dead. The local cops see nothing. They're like, that's funny that we have all these missing person reports. Guess we'll just ignore them.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that doesn't really seem too far-fetched for, cops in a university town. But also, you would hope that by the time they got to, 8 people missing and a library full of blood, that maybe they would care. But, it turns out no. So, she will be driving down the road. Ger's character is the only one who's like, I think she's dangerous. He will get the cops to be involved in a chase of her. And somehow during this chase, she has enough time to stop the car, pull over, throw Shatner's body against a guardrail. She has the dead real Rachel Newman
pose him.
She poses him, yeah. So she has somehow, the timing doesn't make any sense, because she has this cop car racing down the road behind her, and he's not very far. He can see her for most of this chase. He's right behind her, but she manages to get ahead far enough that she can stop the car, unbuckle Shatner, pose him against the guardrail, drive forward a little bit, manages to put the rotten, melting inside a garment bag corpse of real Rachel Newman into the front seat, a brick on the gas pedal, turn the car around, and have it zoom itself towards the corpse of Shatner, off the edge of the cliff, down the side, and it explodes in a big ball of fire. And everyone's like, well, couldn't have survived that. I guess she's dead. No investigation, nothing. Can you imagine? You go into the ditch, you're going to see a brick, which did not melt in the flames, a brick on the gas pedal, and a totally melted, definitely has been dead for 7 months corpse in the front seat. I feel like this is not the work of a criminal mastermind.
Well, that's why it blows up. It explodes. The car explodes pretty significantly. It's a bad effect, but it's there. And she chose that spot. She chose that spot that had all the trash. That's why she went down earlier when she was on her run. And there's a grocery cart and some appliances and
but I feel like fire only takes care of so much. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they had to identify the body from dental records. So yeah, I don't know. If there's any forensic scientists, please feel free to email us at gercangetit@gmail.com. I've watched enough Dr. G Medical Examiner.
Right? I just feel like I feel like the movie wants her to be brilliant, and then everything she does, I'm like, this is the dumbest shit. I don't want there to be a quote of me online saying I think I could be a much more effective serial killer than Mila Kunis, but come on. I really feel like we could do a much better job.
As a horror movie, it wraps up how I would expect a horror movie to wrap up.
Dumbly?
I wouldn't expect anything more from
I know. I know. I think that Ger is in, I want it to be Olympic quality, gold medal, A+, best thing we've ever seen. And we'll get to Ger's scenes in a second, because the reason we haven't discussed Ger's character is because he does not matter to the plot.
No, he's irrelevant.
He matters in as much as he gets the cops to finally chase her. And that is the only contribution he makes to the plot. So, at the end of the movie, so the car explodes. The cops are like, well, nothing to investigate here. Close that book. We see a montage of them Scooby-Dooing around the area and being like, look at all these bloody corpses that we missed that have been sitting here rotting in the open for months. One of which was in the library, which does not speak highly about your educational institution. If there's a place in the second floor of the library that nobody ever goes long enough that you could have a rotting, bloody corpse there, that nobody has seen for 7 months, and then someone finally goes into that section to check out a book, and they're like, oh, what's this? This movie is so dumb, and it hates you for watching, and I hate it for hating us for watching, but we're gonna get through it. So montage. And then we cut to, isn't it like 6 months later, or like there's like a couple of months later. So we're at Quantico. Ger has written a book all about the serial killer Rachel Newman, which the movie will act like Ger was like a self-interested guy only doing this to get money, and like he always wanted fame. And I'm like, you are telling me this from other characters, and like nothing that I've seen from the Ger character tells me this, like shows me this. It just tells me this. But the movie wants me to think that he's like a self-interested, I just want fame, I never got out of this tiny town, and like now I finally have my chance at like being somebody important moment is what the movie wants you to think. But like it doesn't actually earn that, but that's what it wants. So Ger is there at Quantico. He has this little book, and it's like 1 in a billion, the Rachel Newman story, dun dun dun. He does a little speech all about just like the wicked evilness of her, and how like nobody foresaw it. And I'm like, sir, you foresaw it. The second you met her, you were like, I think she's a serial killer. I think she's a sociopath.
That bitch's cheese done slid off her cracker. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And then he calls the William Shatner character immediately upon meeting her for the first time to be like, hi, you have a student in your class who is definitely a sociopath. And Shatner's like, what do you know? You just study brains for a living. Like what is that?
Practical science. Fuck off.
Yeah. But when he's promoting his book, he's like, nobody could have known she was this master of disguise, this chameleon, this illusionist. Who really was Rachel Newman? And I'm like, okay, movie.
But he knew from the police station that she wasn't Rachel Newman. Yes. Because they're like, oh, the first girl that was missing was Rachel Newman, but we went and Rachel Newman was there. And he was like, oh, then like mystery solved. But like her friends, she was an orphan, so her friends had reported her missing. But then like a random other girl showed up and was like, no, I'm Rachel Newman now. And they were like, cool, you want to hang out? Like, we don't follow up with what happened to the friends.
Yeah, because the movie doesn't care. The movie has like a whole bunch of like tiny plot threads that it resolves by intentionally going yada yada yada. Like that's not.
Like, I don't know.
But you're right. You're right. He still calls her Rachel Newman, even though he will at this point know that the real woman Rachel Newman is the missing one and had been missing since the beginning of the semester, and so could not be the girl that he had met. Like, but he will still call her Rachel Newman. He does his little speech about the book. And then a bunch of people come up to get him to sign the book and say like, oh, thank you. Like, we really appreciated your lecture. It was so great. And this woman comes up who is dressed just like Shatner's last TA, calling herself Elizabeth McGuire, which is the name of Shatner's last TA. She's got little glasses and a little sassy little scarf around her neck. Like you have to dress like the real TA dressed, even though you're at a different school where nobody knew this Elizabeth McGuire woman, but like whatever.
Yeah.
And she walks up to Ger, and is like, oh, this was like a really interesting book, and I really liked it. And she does like one of those like cat and mouse dialogues, and Ger stands there looking like he just saw a ghost, because he basically did. He looked like he just like shit his pants, and he's like, what? And then she wanders off, and Ger asks some other student about her, and that's when the other student's like, oh yeah, she's like the best Quantico's ever seen, and she became an agent like younger than anyone ever has, and she's like the go-getter among go-getters, and she's so great, and we all love her. Like, end of movie.
Yeah, no, then she's like, I had to tell him because somebody had to know I got away with it. Otherwise, it's like it didn't happen. Otherwise, it's like I never did anything at all.
Which would only make sense if she were good at her serial killing. But she was so fucking bad that it feels sort of like the only way that you haven't gotten caught is that everyone around you is so bumbling. Like, it's not that you're a genius, it's that you like somehow managed to go to Moron University, where the cops are like the morons who couldn't get into Moron University. Yeah, I got nothing. This movie, like, I know you can't actually hear me roll my eyes, but like, I want you to hear my eyes scraping inside of my skull because they are rolling so fucking hard.
Yeah,
but
you can you can use the dial or the tag that the subtitles used every single time she touched Rachel Newman's body, which was squelching. Squelching.
I mean,
I feel like that's the sound of eyes rolling.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, just imagine that in your audio device right now, because this movie, like, Hypercube was like, at the end of it, I was like, what the fuck even happened? And this movie, I'm like, I'm 1.5 hours closer to death. I'm closer to death than I was before I watched this movie. Like,
and I don't have anything to show for it.
No, I got nothing. Well, except, okay. So the Ger character. So like we said, he plays Dr. Eric Daniels. he is, at first I thought he was a psychiatrist that maybe was like part of the university's like counseling services, but now I think he's just a psychiatrist who's in the town, the little tiny town where the university is, and he just happens to maybe like deal a lot with, like, he knows a lot of the professors, he like deals a lot with the students, but I don't think he's actually associated with the university in any way. But like the movie doesn't care. But so she will go to see him. She will like have one meeting with him where she's like, I am the most driven person who's ever existed, and he's like, oh, I clock you immediately as a sociopath. I'm going to call up my friend who is your teacher and say to watch out for you, but I won't actually tell him your name. And like, so there's this thing, if you're a mental health professional and you have a patient who you know is going to, or you like, I think it's strongly believe, you've probable cause to believe probably that the patient is going to hurt, like great bodily harm, or kill somebody, or in some states there's also like a financial, like a significant financial crime aspect. But if you think that they're going to kill somebody, you're allowed to like to call the cops or to call the person or to warn them. It's not a violation of doctor-patient confidentiality if they're going to kill somebody. I will say that I don't know at this point after the first meeting that he knows that she's going to kill somebody. So it may be true that at this point he's not actually allowed to warn the Shatner character. But I don't know. I feel like if they had given her like one more meeting with him, then she would have just revealed her whole fucking master plan, because she almost admits it during this meeting.
Yeah, he would have had a purpose at all. Yeah, they wanted him to be like Clarice. They wanted him to be like...
Except, like we said, like at the end of the movie, he's like, nobody could have known. And I'm like, didn't you know? But you somehow knew and didn't know.
Yeah, you kind of knew immediately.
Yeah, so there will be like some, what's the word for that? Like some miscommunication. There'll be some miscommunication between Shatner and Ger's character, where Shatner thinks that Ger is talking about the girl that's sleeping with him as the potential serial killer, or the potential dangerous student, and whereas Ger is actually talking about the Milo Kunis character. And it's sort of like this, like it, okay, like you presented an interesting plot thread. Is it going to lead anywhere? No. Okay. So he meets with Milo Kunis 2 times. The first time for him to like basically come to the conclusion that she's dangerous. The second time, Kunis shows up and is like, you were judging me the first time that we met, and I don't like that. And then she goes off in this whole diatribe about him where I don't know where she possibly got it.
Yeah, about his mom.
But like the movie wants us to believe everything she's saying.
Like, you're stuck here with your sick mom. You're trapped in this tiny town. And your mom is weird, and you're stuck with her, and you resent it.
Yeah.
And he's like...
And you're stuck in this college town where all these students, they get to come in, they get the degree, they leave, they go on to greater things, and you're stuck here in bumfuck, and you never get to advance. Nothing ever gets better for you. You're divorced, and your life is miserable and so tiny, and like, you just... You resent all of us young people with futures ahead of us because you don't have a future ahead of you. And it's like, I get maybe, like, you're 20 and a pissant and a little sociopath who thinks that she's smarter than everybody. Like, I get why you would say some of these things, like why you would make an educated guess. Do you know what I mean? Like you're you're a smart medical professional, but you're in this tiny town, and like you're single and you're taking care of an elderly relative, and like I can see why she'd make the educated guess about like the misery that is his life. But the movie wants us to take this as like canon, and like I don't know. She pulls so much out of her ass that like I don't know how she possibly could have gotten all this, and why the movie thinks that she's earned it to make all this canon. But like based on the ending with him in the book, that seems like that's what it wants us to believe. Like it wants us to believe these things are true. It's very weird. But she'll have a whole like like scene with him, where he gets to just sit there and stare at Mila Kunis like acting at him, and he's like, okay, and then. Like, he'll find Shatner dead and kind of put the pieces together. Like, I don't really know how. I mean, I guess because she's the one person that he's met that seems crazy enough to have done this. So he just jumps to the conclusion that it must be her. And then that's how he gets the cops, like, involved in the car chase at the end. Like, there's, like, nothing for him to do, this poor guy. But I will say, this is a vast improvement over Hypercube, because whoever the set dresser was really liked Ger, I think. Like, not set dresser, the costume department. Yeah. They really liked him. They give him, he's got his little Three Musketeers goatee. His hair looks real soft and touchable and not greasy and sweaty like in Hypercube. He gets the little jackets.
Yeah, he is not moist.
He is not moist. I mean, we are, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got like the I'm a professor jackets. I don't remember if there were elbow patches. Maybe I just like mentally photoshopped elbow patches in, but they're elbow patch type jackets. Like I'm a smart professor. I mean, he's still wearing like 4 layers in any scene because that's for us. But I mean, he looks really good. He's like young and fit and trim in this movie. Like he's maybe in his 40s,
late 40s.
In 07, yeah, so late 40s. Yeah, he's a real snack in this. He looks real good.
45.
They give him nothing to do. Maybe
45.
Wait. Yeah, we'll
45.
say he's 45. Yeah.
Yeah. He does look like a snack.
He does look like a snack. He looks really good. He has to sit there and like do like thoughtful I'm listening face and like take bullshit notes when Milo Kunis is monologuing and saying things at him and he has to look like serious.
Like, I don't like to talk to people and I don't like to open up to people, and it's like, you came to the therapist.
You chose this.
Go to the therapist.
I don't. Yeah, it is. This movie, like, no. Like, I feel like Hypercube, like, knew that it didn't have, like, a linear plot. This movie's like, no, we got a plot. But, like, you didn't have a plot. You had the Frankenstein corpse of, like, six other plots that you just sewed together and you shocked with lightning. And we're like, it's alive. Here's your plot, idiot. Fuck you. Here's your movie. But they will also give him, like, an elderly mother that he takes care of, which, again, I don't know how Mila Kunis knows this before she sees her the first time, because all we have is him having a phone call with the mother, but, like, somehow Mila Kunis psychically intuits that he has to care for her.
Not even a real phone call. He's talking to William Shatner and he's trying to cover it up because she walks back in. He's like, sorry, Mom, I gotta go. And she's like, oh, you live with your elderly mother and you have to care for her and you resent her. And you're like,
how could you possibly... Did you do research on him? Like, did you do reconnaissance? Like, I don't understand this, but...
She's a profiler, Meg. That's what she's going to school for.
I guess. She's such a good profiler already that she doesn't even really need to finish her 4-year degree, just straight to Quantico.
She doesn't need information. She doesn't need facts. She just
guesses. She guesses and she's right every time.
She just knows.
Yeah. This movie would have made more sense if at the beginning they were like, she's a descendant of Ikwe, and so she's psychic. She has psychic dreams.
Oh, God.
She's the great granddaughter. Yeah. Bringing it home to Ikwe.
This would make just as much sense as Ikwe 2 as American Psycho 2.
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining like Ikwe 2. Can you even fucking imagine? Like, it's just like what's Ikwe 2? Just like a scene of like a bunch of smallpox corpses like on a beach somewhere and like Ger paddling to Scotland.
That's the opening. Is just like smallpox corpses and baby Mila Kunis. And then she looks over and Ger is like paddling away with his like handkerchief hat, like singing Willy Winky, and she's like, "Oh, that's it. I'm crazy now." And then we move straight into her in college, and then we never explain the time jump. We never explain any of that. And then
from the 17 whatevers to
and then every once in a while, when she gets ready to kill somebody, we play the weird drum music from every time Ikwe had a vision.
You know what? I was gonna say it would make as much sense as this movie. It would have made more sense.
And that's the only tie-in. That's it. That's the only tie-in. It's fine. Yeah.
I mean, it tied in as much as it did to Real American Psycho, right? But so they will have Ger like in a restaurant at one moment. Like I feel like this is the only like, I don't know, like wink back at Ger's career, because they'll have him in a restaurant with his elderly mother. Mila Kunis' character comes over to like have a weird confrontational, hi, like I just fired you as my therapist because you're onto what a little serial killer I am. I'm here in public, like let's square off. And then Ger's mother will be like, oh, is that your new girlfriend? And I'm like, ma'am,
she's 12.
She is 20 years old. In the body of a 12-year-old. Yes. Like she is. Yeah. Like, I know that you're old and have cataracts, but they can't be that bad, those cataracts. Like no. Awkward. So this movie, okay, so characteristic wise, I feel like
weird mother. It's just weird
mother. Well, okay, then we've got weird mother. We have facial hair. We have weird facial hair. Not weird. I like it, but like facial hair. I feel like I've seen him do eyebrow raise. I feel like I saw a couple of eyebrow raises of like, I know I'm in a piece of garbage, but like I really wanted a trip to Bali, so this will pay for that. Like I feel like I definitely saw a couple of eyebrow raises. Yeah. And I feel like tangentially we have a movie where there is a horny adult man with a much younger girlfriend. And I feel like that's
but
like
it's not him.
relevant to it's not him. It's not him. I feel like it's relevant to the sphere, the Gare-niverse, if you will, like the sphere of things that happen in Gare movies.
It kind of felt like they'd written the role of Shatner's character for Ger.
For Ger, yeah.
And then Shatner showed up and he was like, I would be in this movie. And they were like, fuck, it's Shatner. And so they were like, well, we'll give him the old man who fucks. Like, that'll be the guy we give him. And then they're like, God damn it, guys. Ger already signed a contract. We can't take him out of this. And they're like,
yeah, so we need to put him in something. I guess he's a hot therapist?
I don't know, therapist, whatever. Like, throw it in there. And they're like, okay, fine, whatever.
It does feel like this movie somehow both really needs the Ger therapist character and also would be exactly the same without it.
Yeah. He's like a MacGuffin. He's just a person MacGuffin. He just drives the plot. Because he's the only one asking any questions about her at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like her kills are so public and so open that to remove the Ger character, all you need is just someone to find the dead body in the library. Find one of the many dead bodies she's left all around campus. Find one.
Yeah.
And then the cops all of a sudden care that there's a serial killer and they like are a little bit less stupid and they put it together and realize it's her and then they do the car chase. And like the only reason that we have him is so that at the end she can be like, aha, yes, I bested someone. And it's like, well, you didn't seem to have any respect for his character or his character's intelligence. Like it would have made more sense to have the Keith character figure out that she was a serial killer. Do you know what I mean? Because like she was sort of foreshadowed to be in a battle of wits with him that never happens because she stabs him through the fucking temple. But like
nobody ever really pegs her as the killer.
Your explanation makes a lot of sense.
No one ever pegs her as the killer. The only reason they're going to the college at all is because she was the first one reported missing. And he was like, well, let's go talk to her because she gives me bad vibes. And I think she might know about what's going on. And so they go and she drives by with William Shatner's body in the car like, hello, everybody. And they're like, oh, no, chase after her. I think she's the killer. I mean, that's the only investigating that gets done. Yeah.
It's you know when like there's a movie that like makes characters dumber for comedic effect? I feel like maybe that's what this movie is trying to do, but like it's not good enough at being a comedy to make it like I'm not 100% sure that it was intentional because it's not good enough at being a comedy to make it clear to me that this was intentional and not just a dumb movie that hated you for watching it, which is kind of what we get. But okay, so in terms of characteristics, I think we have the eyebrow raise, we have the weird mother relationship, which again, his character's in this movie for 12 seconds. They shoot in the weird mother relationship characteristic. That's a deep cut.
It's in his contract. I'm sorry. We just got to work her in.
I need brown M&Ms in my trailer. And also there has to be a weird mom. It doesn't have to be mine.
Yeah.
There must be a weird mom in this movie.
With a sassy hat.
Her hat is so big. It feels like they used all their budget on making him look really, really snacky and really nice. And they were like, I don't know, let's just go to the thrift store and pick out whatever rags we can find and staple them to the old woman. And that's what she gets to wear.
Yeah.
So we've got weird mom. We've got eyebrow raise. He doesn't kiss anybody. There is a character that definitely like should have been written for him. If this movie were remade today, he is the Shatner character. I mean, that's how this would play out. I don't even know if he spider hands. I mean,
he
he doesn't touch anybody
or do anything. He's barely there. I mean, he's there, but like he doesn't. It's just Milo Kunis talking and him being like
nodding sagely. I mean, he's never nude because he definitely is wearing like 3 layers in every scene under his very handsome corduroy blazer. Which again, I don't like anyone involved in this movie, but like whoever did the costume design, thank you. That's just, you got me through it. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to go 2 raised eyebrows out of 5. That's just
that high.
I mean, I forget what I gave 1. Maybe a 1 then. I gave a 1 out, but I can't remember. It was something where he did none of his usual. Maybe Hypercube.
Because I think Ikwe had very few.
And Hypercube. I mean, because he just doesn't get, the only thing he gets is weird mom. Like he's not.
Yeah.
He's not the snacky professor that everybody thinks is hot. Nobody tells him
No,
he's pretty.
I was expecting that
Shatner gets
so
chosen
much.
over him. Shatner gets chosen over him.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it did remind me that, like, I feel like Shatner also has done a lot of roles like this. Like I don't want to say predatory adult, but like the older guy that everyone's into. I feel like Shatner
Yeah,
was like
he
when
was also like
when he
the
was
hunky
young,
guy.
it was hot.
Yeah.
And yes. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of Shatner roles, like Ger could step into and be like, it's me, half price. Like I could do it. But
Yeah.
it's like, it's kind of a bummer that like he doesn't. I mean, like in this movie, the Shatner character is sort of gross, so I wouldn't have enjoyed watching him be gross. Like they let him be like curled up psychiatrist sex puma vibes, which I may be bringing my own personal layer to this movie. But like they let him be not gross, whereas the Shatner character is just painted pretty much as just disgusting. Just like a real predator who doesn't even really care. Like they make it sound like he was so disturbed by the first girlfriend dying that's why he left Quantico. But like nothing about this character supports that. Like nothing about this makes me think that
it comes out of the blue and then it disappears back into the blue.
Well, and it's like when he's like, I'm taking sabbatical because my current girlfriend died and I'm so upset about it. And I'm like, are you upset? Because you walked into the scene and you were immediately in like police mode and you took down any of the like evidence that could incriminate you. You didn't touch anything else in the scene. Like you backed out and like made sure not to like disturb the rest of it.
He takes the answering machine tape, yeah. And then he's like, Eric, I think I loved her. And you're like, what?
Like,
no, you didn't.
Do you? Like nothing. I think that's the nugget of the problem with this movie is it will tell you things and then not support them by showing you things. Like the things it's shown you and the things that it tells you are not describing the same characters. Like their behavior is not the same, but it wants you to be like, no, believe the things that I've said and not believe any of the things that you've shown me. Like these characters are very callow, but like, believe me when I have someone say, he is so emotionally disturbed by this that he is like on bed rest and he can't possibly come to class and teach anymore because he's just so sad about his girlfriend dying. I'm like, you have not shown me anything that supports this. You show me the exact opposite of how terrible he is. It's back to that scene with Milo Kunis talking to Ger's character where she's like, here are all of your flaws and insecurities. And I'm like, where did you get that from? The movie wants me to believe you, but like, how did you know all this? Like you're just saying things that you want me to believe. And then you're showing me the exact opposite. And then you put like, Curb Your Enthusiasm music below it. And you're like, no, it's a comedy. Fuck you. Like this movie is just, I mean, but they dress Ger so nicely and I'm really bummed about it. Like they dress him for a better movie.
Yeah.
Like he's just like the sexy professor in like a much better porno movie than this. Like this is nothing. This is a bummer. So so I do sloppy wet kisses out of 10. I rate the movie on overall quality. It just made me mad. So I don't know what I gave Ikway. If retroactively it turns out that if you listen to my Ikway rating and it's lower than this, retroactively add 2 points to Ikway because I want this to be worse than Ikway on my rating scale. I'm going to give this.
No.
Yeah, I did it.
No.
I did it.
We've reached a new low.
We've reached a new low.
I never get lower than Ikway.
Because Ikway, if we put a pin in like the racism for a second, which is a big pin, admittedly, if we put a little pin in that, like that movie at least was like, we want to make an educational film and we're going to try to provide some educational experience for the audience. And like, even though at that time we thought it was educational to tell you that all brown people were magic, like, again, putting the pin in that particular brand of racism for a second, like it tried to like make something that was culturally, historically important and helpful to help people like get a better idea of like what it really meant to like live at that time. This movie, like if you had just accepted that you were like the low budget straight to video dumb horror movie sequel, like if you had just accepted that, this could have been fun. And the movie like thought it was fun, but also thought it was clever, but like didn't spend any time like just like a comedy movie still can't be dumb. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of people hear comedy and they read comedy and they
Unless
just think
it's
lazy.
dumb comedy. Like that's just like a.
But it's not. But that's not what I mean. Like there's even like a goofy, dumb comedy with dumb jokes. There still needs to be a recognizable structure underneath it. Like it still needs to be a good movie. Like the things that make a story are true, whether it's like a dramatic, serious story or a goofy, silly story. Like there needs to be a beginning, middle, and end. Like there needs to be a climactic moment.
Yeah.
Like the hero's journey needs to be like there are like, I don't want to say tropes, but there are like things that make a story recognizable. And they're true whether it's like a silly movie or a serious movie. Like there still needs to be a skeleton underneath the meat. Otherwise it's just a big pile of snot. Like there needs to be something underneath it that shapes it. And then you can make it like as goofy or as serious as you want. But like there are things that make it a movie and not just a series of confusing lights and sounds and pictures. Like there are, I hesitate to say tropes because that sounds like I'm saying like pick stuff out of a bag and glue it into a pile and there you have a story.
Okay.
But like
there's a certain amount of expectation.
Yeah. Well, it's like there are things you need to make a sentence, and you can make any kind of a sentence that you want to, but like you can't just scream out guttural noises or like, I don't know, have like there are still like things that make a sentence comprehensible to an English listener.
Yeah, there's a narrative structure that we expect. Yeah.
Yeah, and this movie doesn't have that. And like I'm not saying, it's sort of like with E.E. Cummings and like poetry, like you need to know the rules to be able to break them. And sometimes you can break the rules, but only because you know the rules and you know how to like subvert them and work with them. I feel like Hypercube didn't bother with any of the rules, but like if it had known the rules and then broken them in a way that was comprehensible to the audience, that would have been a very exciting, cool movie. This movie didn't want to do anything super shocking or brilliant with the rules. It just didn't bother to learn them. And I went, nah, I can do that. It's like when you see somebody like trying to draw the human figure, it's like it would be very helpful if you like studied like musculature and like this, like the skeleton and like you knew like how the pieces fit together and like when like you're drawing like a face, like there are ratios to how like a human face is set up. Like there are distances and there are measurements. And if you can like understand those ratios and measurements, then you can then build on that and draw any kind of a face that you want. And it'll sort of look like a human face, whether you're like naturally a super talented artist, or in this case, writer of movies, or if you're not, but like if you can put that work in on the back end, it makes the final product so much better. And this movie didn't care about putting in the work on the back end. It's like a movie is just people talking and doing stuff, right? I got that. And then it makes this movie with like violating so many of the fundamental laws of like what makes a movie satisfying and what makes a plot a thing, that it just sort of makes me angry because it feels lazy. And then it has those moments where it's like, no, Milo Kunis' character is really smart. And I'm like, I don't know if you think that. I don't know if you just want the world of her movie to think that. I don't know if you want me, the audience, to think that. But what you're telling me is that you don't respect me, and I'm mad at you for telling me you don't respect me. Ikwe never says it doesn't respect me. Ikwe says, hey, it's the late 80s. Brown people are magic, right? Okay, we're going to start from that point of mutual agreement. Let's go. Like pan flute. Like, okay, fine. But like, it didn't like flop me in the face with its dick. This movie has a very small dick, and it just smacked me about the nose with it. And like, I don't feel good afterwards. I don't feel respected. Like... That's why I want to rate this less than Ikwe. That's
okay. No, that's a very good explanation, and I feel like you tied it up perfectly.
Yeah. So whatever my Ikwe score was, I don't remember, but like
it is the flaccid dick version of a movie. I got it.
Thank you. Yeah, but like this is -1 for that. So this is, I don't know. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna say that I'm giving this movie like a 1.25 sloppy wet kisses out of 10, and really 1 out of that 1.25 is because whoever dressed Ger, they dressed him very, very nicely. Like they put a lot of effort into dressing him. They clearly enjoyed doing that work. His clothing fits him very nicely.
They did the work. They understood the assignment.
Which was to get me through this movie without slitting my wrists. And like, thank you guys. Good job. More corduroy, more elbow patches for Ger, more Professor Ger roles with the little Three Musketeers goatee going on. The like, I'm clearly going in a play after I finish filming this where I have to have this goatee. So congrats, your character has the goatee now. Like,
is he straight from here to Slings and Arrows?
This is 2002. I think Slings and Arrows is like 2008-ish.
No,
I mean, there's no reason he couldn't just keep that goatee for like 6 years. It's fine. It's a good goatee. It's a good look. I like it.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. So I can't recommend that anybody watch. I mean, like, if you want to watch like 17 and a half-ish Milo Kunis, I mean, watch that 70s show. But if you're like, I want to watch Mila Kunis, but like have her dressed in early 2000s clothing with like little plastic chokers and butterfly clips and like shrunken American flag t-shirts, if that's your thing, if you're like, I miss that fashion moment, which why? It was not a good fashion moment. Why? But if you miss that, then I guess you can watch this movie. I mean, you can purchase it. It's unlike half the other stuff we watch for Ger, where I'm like, we found this buried in a hole underground. You're never going to be able to see this. So, I mean, like, you can legally purchase this movie if you want to, but why would you want to?
It's on Tubi for one more day. It's leaving in 2 days.
They're like, even for free, we can't in good conscience show this to anybody.
Shuffle that shit off. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, by the time this airs, it will already be off Tubi. But if you want it on on Apple TV, it was maybe $10, which is about $9 more than you should pay for it. But like, if you want to, maybe he gets residuals he doesn't get residuals for Forever Night. Maybe he gets residuals for American Psycho too. We should definitely ask him.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, if that's the case, buy this movie.
So, Ger. American Psycho 2. Walk me through this.
Do you still have your contract? I would absolutely love to take a look at it.
Can I take a look at that? Is the mom in your contract? You know, somebody worked it in like...
I was going to say, is there like a whole page that says weird mom?
Like 15 years ago, somebody as just like a joke, worked it into his contract, and he's never actually read his boilerplate contract, so he just hands it to people, and they're like, why does he want a weird mom? And they're like, I don't know, man. Just do it.
He just shows up on set and he's like, does this movie have a weird mom for me too? That's very strange. Like, this is my fourth movie with a weird mom.
Why are there so many moms? So weird.
At this point, it does feel intentional. Do you know what I mean? Like, his mom character doesn't make any sense or impact in the movie.
Yeah, like, why are you... Again, Ger? Again?
It feels like the casting person was like, okay, so we can't give you the Shatner role because Shatner took it over. He's a bigger star than you. I'm sorry. Like, he's going to get to be the hot for teacher role. However, I know that in addition to liking to make out on screen, you also weirdly liked to have weird moms. We can give you a weird mom in this movie. Would that balance it up for you? So again, no making out. You will be in about 2.5 scenes. You will be allowed to go to the craft services table every day that we are filming. So if you want to bring like a Ziploc bag and pack lunches for the week, that's fine. We're cool with that. But in addition, hear me out. We will give you a weird mom.
And he was like,
yes.
He stopped listening after craft services. He was like, yeah, that's fine. Then he showed up and he was like, oh my God, fuck it again with the mom. I don't want the mom.
So just to be clear, you will pay me, and I will also get to fill up the Ziploc bag as much as I want to from that table there. Yes. That table there. Okay. All right. No, I'm in. I am in. Poor Ger. Oh, poor Ger. Anyways, It's a movie. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but like, it's very much a 2002 horror movie that thought it was something. And like, I just hate any movie that like thinks the audience is dumb. That's where I come out on it. Like, it's not like super gross. I mean, the kills are like really mild, if that's a thing that anyone's worried about for watching. Like, I get grossed out by like too much body horror. I think you see William Shatner's intestines at one point, but like he has them in like a shopping bag in his lap. Like they're like nothing. It's fine. But like in terms of quality, like it's not. It just makes me mad. Like a movie that like doesn't that doesn't respect me makes me mad. That's how I feel about this movie, and this movie doesn't respect its audience. But Ger does. Ger absolutely does. Mm-hmm. Is what I've decided. Yeah, and that corduroy jacket respected him real good. Anyways, on that note, I had to leave on a high note. Corduroy jacket, just real tight. Kept it a snack, an absolute snack in this smorgasbord of shit that was this movie. He was a nice little ham sandwich, right in the middle, little happy ham sandwich. On that note, friends.
Until next time.
Did you forget your own sign off?
No. We just say until next time, friends. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.